Welcome to the Slapshot Podcast, episode number 6. I'm your host, Christopher Morais. Thank you again for being with me on this beautiful, well, technically when you listen to it, it's going to be Saturday. Hopefully Saturday morning. You wake up bright and early as you're making your morning coffee or smoothie or whatever you enjoy in the morning. Get your day started with some Slapshot Podcast. So yes, thank you for everybody who continues to listen to this. I'm going to start the podcast always with that because I can't thank everybody enough. The people who listen and just tell me they love it, they enjoy it. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy this. So I know it's been a while since we've talked, or at least you've heard me talk. So we're going to, today on the podcast, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the art of trading, specifically in fantasy hockey. It's something that I've done a couple. I've done a couple. I think I've done at least 2 podcasts about, trading in fantasy sports in general, but in hockey as well, because it's one of those subjects that we just have to talk about every year. I'll probably do the same podcast at this point next year because nobody's going to learn a thing from this one, or at least in my experience. Trading in general, people don't learn how to do it. So we're going to take a look at that today. We're going to look at how to build a good trade offer and, how as well to receive one. Because sometimes you're going to get trade offers from other owners who are not really good at it. So one of you is going to have to be the bigger man or woman and take hold of this trade and try to get something done. So we'll take a look at some, just again, they're not rules, but they're guidelines that will probably help you, get a trade done, because that is the goal when you talk trade with somebody else, is to get them to accept or at least communicate in a way where you can get a deal done that makes everybody happy. That's usually the general consensus of what's going on. So we'll take a look at that. First, we're going to start the podcast with the Montreal Canadiens penalty kill. I need to start that because I need to just kind of vent this off my chest because it's hurting me. And it's making me sick. The Montreal Canadiens probably have the worst penalty kill I've ever seen. And statistically, it's actually pretty bad. It's 30th in the NHL bad. Only the Winnipeg Jets have a worse penalty kill, and the Winnipeg Jets are like, they don't have a defense, so it's normal. But the Montreal Canadiens penalty kill has just been an absolute joke, it's mind-boggling as a Habs fan because their power play is really good. And usually this is the other way around. Their power play last season was awful, dreadfully awful. And they are 9th in power play, right? In power play efficiency, 25%, which is really good. Like, Here's some context for you. If you follow me on Twitter, which you should, at FuzzyChris91, you know how I feel about Jordan Wheel on the top power play unit. It drives my mind insane that Claude Julien wakes up in the morning and says, yeah, Jordan Wheel on the top power play unit, that's going to work. So far, it has. And Wheel's been a healthy scratch here and there. So, Nick Cousins comes in, takes a spot on the top power play unit, and then my mind continues to explode because there are so many, well, not so many, but there are other players, good players on the team who can play the role of whatever Jordan Wheel / Nick Cousins play. Because I had a hard time accepting Joel Armia on the top power play unit, and he's had a pretty good start to the season, not going to lie. He's got power play goals, shorthanded goals, 5-on-5 goals. They've done all that stuff real nice. And I don't know how long this success on the power play is going to last, but you cannot be a playoff team with a 67.6% penalty killing efficiency. You can't. They are garbage. And the reason in my mind why they're garbage is because that power play is A, static, B, passive, C, nonchalant. Maybe they're all synonyms of themselves. But when you watch the Montreal Canadiens play, and that was evident in their game against San Jose. San Jose, who has now gone on a winning streak of some sorts. Martin Jones is slowly playing less, and my God, the Sharks are doing well. So Martin Jones may actually lose his starting job, and we're not even into the month of November, which would make me laugh like crazy, because this should be a surprise to nobody. And to those of you who drafted Martin Jones in fantasy hockey, well, you were warned. So live with the consequences of what you've done. But let's go back to the original thing. The Sharks scored 2 power play goals. All right. And if you watch the way that those goals happened, Montreal is, like I said, they're very static on the penalty kill. They do not pressure the puck. They sit in their box and they try to cut the cross seam passes. And it's not working, by the way, because the other team sets up, right? It's not hard to get into the zone anyways. All these teams have that kind of, the defenseman rushes up to about center ice, moves the puck back. The player comes in with a ton of speed, gains the blue line. They set up. Everybody wins. But in Montreal's case, if you do not pressure the puck carrier and you give up the cross seam passes, you're in the exact same spot. Like, you're not going to have any success. And I was reading a little bit this morning about people who are putting, the fault on Carey Price. Sure. I mean, he doesn't have great penalty kill save percentage, and he's got to be a little bit better. Sure. But this is not on Carey Price, by the way. First of all, he's not the one taking the penalties to start with. Okay. His job is to try to, fix the problem that's going on in front of him. And at this point, what happens is the other team knows that when the Montreal Canadiens take a penalty, there's a good chance they're going to be able to score a goal. And you cannot win if your special teams are not good. Usually, general rule of thumb, okay? You just need your special teams to be at about 100% efficiency between the power play and the penalty kill. So if your penalty kill is at 75%, right, you need your power play operating at 25%. If you're there, things are going well. There's no real advantage, but you're not you're not at a disadvantage either. And I'm just going to put this into context a little bit. And again, this stat boggles my mind as well. The San Jose Sharks have a 25.7 power play efficiency. They have a 91.4 penalty kill efficiency. They are the best team in the league on the penalty kill. Which, again, Martin Jones is on that team. So that is mind-boggling. And they have a 4-5-1 record. So, yeah. Oh boy. But, general rule of thumb number there, if I'm taking 25.7 plus 91.4, I'm getting 117. So they're pretty good. They're way over the 100, point mark there. And yet they're not having any success. So this tells me that they're a little bit unlucky. They're not unlucky. Martin Jones is a problem. But assuming their goaltending is better, assuming Aaron Dell takes over and he plays and, nothing, Martin Jones becomes the backup and he plays maybe 20 games or 25 games this year, the San Jose Sharks should be a good team. And they are. They've played better. Martin Jones has played less. This team has played better, right? I'm recording this on a Friday night. They're leading Toronto 1-0. Aaron Dell is starting on back-to-back nights. So, hey, man, all the better. Let's go back to Montreal here. So their power play is garbage. And, no, not their power play. Their penalty kill. See, I'm so used to saying their power play is garbage because that's just how it's always been. Their penalty kill is trash. And this team needs to, I think they need to play with a little bit more, make it hard for the other team to do things. They're too passive. And the games that kind of stick out for me is they played one earlier. I think it was a couple weeks ago. They played against Buffalo, right? They lost in overtime. Buffalo's on the power play. Yes, it's a 4-on-3. They don't take away the cross-ice pass. Johansson gets it on a one-timer, scores, game's over. You can't blame a goalie for giving up a one-timer goal. Like it's a hard, like he's got to laterally move from one end of his net to the other, and he's got to try to stop the puck. So players, if you're able to move the goalie from one side of the net to the other, you're going to create chances for your team to score. And San Jose did that pretty well yesterday on their first 2 goals. They found the seam, they got the puck there, Vander Kane made him pay. And it happens every game. If you watch these games like I do, you see that they've given up a goal on the power play. The way they give it up, these aren't garbage goals being scored in front of the net. And other teams have kind of realized that they're not pressuring them. They're just going to sit there, let them set up. So, move the puck around, wait. See if you can find a player who's snoozing a little bit, goes down a little too far, doesn't go high enough. You find the cross-ice seam, bang, score a goal. That's all there is to it here. And, the Montreal Canadiens have done a better job on the power play because, A, it's not all Shea Weber anymore, right? Things are happening around there, which is important because Weber's not scoring any goals at all. So they're doing things. They're getting players in the right spot. I think the power play can be even better if we stop playing plug players, bottom, 6 forwards on the power play. But whatever. It's working now, so Claude Julien gets the benefit of just it's working. There's nothing. I can't criticize him. I can criticize him for that garbage penalty kill. And I don't understand how he doesn't just sit there, watch a little bit of tape and say, no, puck pressure. Buffalo does it. Toronto is very good at it as well. I've seen Ottawa do it a bunch as well. There are lots of teams that apply the pressure the puck carrier. Because if you're pressuring the puck carrier, you're forcing him to do something. He has to make a pass. It is statistically proven that every time you make a pass, there's a chance that, the pass is not well received or that, the other team loses the puck or something happens. If you're passing the puck, there's a good chance that maybe you can intercept it. If the guy's holding on to it and you're not pressuring him, there's no chance that he makes a mistake. He's not just going to fall on his ass by himself. Nothing is going to happen. So I want Montreal to be a puck pressuring team on the PK. Just change it up a little bit. Find a different strategy because you're 30th in the league. So it's not working. Whatever you have going now is A, not working, and B, costing you games. Because they have a 4-4-2 record. They don't look that good. They're scoring goals, which again, mind-boggling that this team is scoring goals as they are. But, hey, they're doing it. So whatever. This team can be better than what they are. Their penalty kill is usually their strength. If they could just, they don't even need to be if they were just 80% on the penalty kill right now, just league average. 80% is about the league average right now. If they were league average with the power play that they have now, they would probably have a couple more wins. They'd be a better team in the standings than they are now. So maybe Claude Julien will do something. Who knows? Not betting my life on it. Anyways, that was my Montreal Canadiens rant for today. Thank you for assisting. Now let's look at fantasy hockey trades, because if you followed some advice from the previous podcasts, I tell people don't panic first couple of weeks of the season. Even if you get absolutely wrecked like I did in my 2 weeks, it's fine. It's going to happen. Some fantasy teams start slow. Players are off to a crazy hot start. Maybe you ran into an owner who has James Neal. Maybe you ran into, David Pasternak. It's going to happen, okay? It's going to happen. You're going to catch other fantasy teams that just go crazy. And even if you're in a roto league, there's lots of time. Don't worry. Now is when you can start to really look at saying, hey, where is my team not doing well? where do I need to improve, and what owner has what I need and he lacks what I have. That is the art of making a deal. It literally is. Find the other owner who is missing what you have in excess. This is true across all types of fantasy sports. It's true for fantasy baseball, fantasy football as well. Fantasy hockey is the same. If your opponent needs defensemen and you have a lot of them, that's your trading partner. Do not choose the owner you want to make or do business with. Choose the one that is lacking what you need. Because every year I get trade offers. Somebody's offering me a deal. It's a fair deal. It's nice. We'll never make that deal. Because if you're like, in one case, I have a lot of centermen. So if you're sending me a trade for a centerman, or you're trading me one and I'm trading you one, or I'm trading, a left winger, which I don't have enough of, and you're offering me a center, it does not meet my needs. So I'm probably not going to accept this deal unless it literally blows my mind. But it probably won't because it's, not everybody can do that. And that's like step one. Find the other owner. Once you have once a week, you don't even have to do this regularly. You should do it as often as possible. But once a week, you can just, skim the other owners. See what injuries they're dealing with. That's where you're going to get your opportunities. See what owner has what. What are the injuries like? And can I benefit from that situation? If he's got a lot of injuries, maybe he's going to be a little more open to making a deal that he might not usually make. Maybe he's a little bit stranglehold. Maybe, I don't know, he's the Claude Giroux owner and he's off to a not good start, or Jonathan Toews owner not off to a great start. Maybe he's panicking, or she, and you want to get good value on this player. It's possible. Find the owner who is your match partner. Once you have found him, okay, next, you should always contact them. If you're in a league with friends and stuff and you can contact the other owner, always do it. Be like, hey, I was looking at your team. You're missing X. I have an abundance of X. Are you open to trading? Your response as a person, if you get that message, your response is always yes. Yes, I'm open to trading. It doesn't matter what the other person is offering. Okay? If they send you a message with, hey, are you interested in trading player X? Never, ever, ever do I ever say no. Because I am of the belief that every player on your fantasy team is tradable. Every single one. In hockey, your Connor McDavid is tradable. Your Nikita Kucherov is tradable. Your David Pastrnak is tradable. Every single player on your team is tradable. There is no such thing as an untradeable player. Wayne Gretzky was traded. Your fantasy team has a player that is available. If somebody else is looking to acquire him, he is available. I hate when I ask another owner and they say, no, this player is untradeable. And I'm sitting there going, really? First of all, why? Why would he be untradeable? Do you have a love for him? That's the worst part. I like this player. Good for you. Good for you. But what you're saying is I'd much rather not make my team better because I like this player. That's basically what you're saying. At that point, cool. Like, I'm not going to send you very many messages at that point because you clearly don't understand the concept of what you're trying to do, right? Your fantasy team, you run it like a business. Can you get better? Yes, do it. That's it. That's the only way it can happen. So if you get a message from somebody who says, hey, are you open to trading this player? Absolutely. I'm open to the idea. What were you thinking? Give him the first opportunity. Maybe he sends you back a, well, what would you like? Perfect. Ask for the moon. It's as simple as that. You want my player? I'll tell you what the asking price is. You might not like it. That conversation might be short, but hey, look, man, that's what it is. That's the asking price. Can we move on a couple of things? Yes. Maybe he says okay, and he takes a look at it. Who knows? Who knows what his idea is? Who knows? You don't know where the other owner is coming from. Sometimes I make trades in leagues where I'm working on a trade with somebody else at the same time that I'm working on it with somebody else. Maybe he says, well, I need this player. Perfect. Maybe I can make a separate trade somewhere else with another owner and recuperate my loss there. Or maybe I get an extra player that I need somewhere else that allows me to make a trade. I did this year in baseball. I didn't have the pieces I needed to make a deal with one owner. I said, hey, give me 10 minutes. Let me see. Let me get in contact with another owner. I just want to look at something. I made a trade with another owner who was missing what I had in abundance. And I got an extra player back in return. It was a 2-for-1 deal. I got an extra player, which allowed me to facilitate the trade with the other owner. Boom. 3-team trade without the other 2 teams knowing. This exists. You need to be creative. You need to be very creative. You need to be able, obviously, to get a hold of your other owners pretty quick. But there's a lot of, people who are in leagues with their friends and stuff, and you can text them or call them or whatnot or Facebook them. But you could generally get a hold of people when you need them. If you are one of those people who you cannot get a hold of, quit fantasy sports altogether. Don't be that person. You're a nuisance. Stop it. If you auto-reject trades without sending something back or at least a message, you're the worst. Stop. Don't do it. Just don't play. Join a league where you don't have to make any trades. No trades allowed. Nothing. Just do one of those. So now you've found the owner. Let's recap a little bit here. You found the owner, okay? Or you get a message saying, hey, are you open? Go back and forth. Do not be and I'm going to repeat this, do not be the guy who just sends a trade and it's a not good trade. I do this in one league, not for hockey, but where I'm good friends with a lot of people in it. So I'll send like a ridiculous trade. And this person will send me a text and be like, dude, are you serious? And then I'll be like, perfect. Now I have your attention. Thank you for texting me. I'm looking at acquiring. Sometimes it's not even the player I sent the trade for. It's like it's something else. But I know it'll generate a reaction. Right? I do. It's one league where I'm friends with these people, so it's fine. If you aren't in a league like that, then don't do that. Don't send an egregious trade where the other owner's just going to auto-reject and say, I'm not even going to take the time to send it back. Like, it doesn't work. That's the equivalent of your boss saying, hey, do you want to work an extra 3 hours today and only get paid $1 more for it? You'd be like, yeah, no. Doesn't sound like a good idea. In fact, never propose that idea to me because I will never do it. That's basically what you're sending the other owner. You're sending him an auto-reject trade that he's not going to really want to follow up on. And then that helps nobody. He basically doesn't take you seriously. You don't take him seriously. I've been in leagues with these owners. I don't even look at them when I need to trade. Or when I get one from them, it dings on my phone and I'm like, yeah, I'll check that when I have time, or I don't know, later when I go to the toilet. Like, that's it. I'm not excited to look at it or see if there's something that can be done. I'm just like, this is probably trash. And most of the time it is. So don't be that person. Don't send out garbage. Go through the overall rankings in your league up to date and look at what you have versus what you want to go get. Okay? Again, when you're doing trades, you're not paying for previous stats. You are paying for future stats. So you always try to see, is there a schedule that gets better? Is this player going to be promoted up? Is he dealt with injuries? You're trying to find a little bit of value. The other owner knows this as well. But your views on one player can be extremely different. They can. You could have them, graded out in your head at one type, or you can be like, yeah, I value this guy higher than another owner will. You could be miles apart on one player. It's possible. That's fine, by the way. It's fine. But take the overall points that you have now in your league and say, okay, if I'm trading for the 5th ranked left winger in the league, and I'm giving him the 27th ranked defenseman in the league, there's a good chance he's going to say no. True chance. And you can get creative at this point, like I said, with, you can make 2-for-1 deals. But again, if you're making a 2-for-1 deal, the other owner's got to be A, willing to do it, because he may have to drop a player at that point. Well, the player that I'm dropping, is it worth it? All trades end up being equal. That's what it is. Even if you send a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 deal, the other owner's going to have to drop players. Basically, what you're saying is, hey, whatever player you send me, I'm just not going to keep anyways. That's it. That's what it's saying. I'll take the future considerations. That's what it is. A 2-for-1 deal is a future consideration where the other owner basically says, you can have any player on the waiver wire for free, including maybe the player I'm going to drop. That's possible. So, I don't do many of those deals unless I'm trading a really good player because I need to go get some pieces, or if I'm rebuilding. If you're in a keeper league, obviously these things change a little bit. You have draft picks that come into play. Some people value draft picks too high. I'm not one of those people. I'll trade them. I'll worry about next year. Dynasty leagues, the same things. I'm not worried a lot about picks. If I'm rebuilding a team, fine. I'll go out. I'll get picks, depending on what the keeper rules are and whatnot. General rule of thumb: if you're rebuilding, fine. Go out and get picks and what you need if you're coming back to the league at that point, and maybe you'll build a better team. But if you're in a league where you have to keep, 10-team league and you keep 5 players, the first 50 players are off the board. So your first round pick is basically a 6th round pick. There's not much left in the 6th round that's really, really good. So sometimes I'm not worried about that. I'll trade the picks. Or I'll try to balance the picks out in some way. But I'm usually not too hyped when someone says, well, I'll send you a good draft pick. Good for you, bud. Good for you. I can't use it right now. Because you can be having an average season and be rebuilding and competing at the same time. You can do that. Depends what it is. Depends on what you're looking to replace the player with. If there are players on the waiver wire who you say, hey, this guy is a good ad. This maybe frees me up to trade this player or overvalue the trade. You can send more to another owner in hopes of getting one player, knowing that you're going to replace him on the waiver wire with a player. That's what it is. Like I said, each trade is equal. So if I'm doing a 2-for-1 trade, there's a 100% chance I have a plan behind it. It's guaranteed. I'm not trading 2 players to get 1. Mathematically, 95% of the time, the 2 players will outscore the 1 player, barring injuries. The 2 players will outscore the 1 player. If you're in a head-to-head points league or points-only league, there's no reason to trade 2 players who have, let's say, finished the year with 150 points each to acquire 1 player who's going to have 250. Doesn't make sense. But, again, there's a lot of things that come into play there. Does this owner need to trade 2 players away because he has a player who is on injury reserve and needs to come off? Does he have a player he's targeting on the waiver wire that he wants to add? You're not going to know, right? He's not going to tell you, yeah, I'm looking to add this guy on the waiver wire. Oh, really? Let me just quickly grab him while you're not looking. No, see? So if you're in a league or if you're in a trade discussion, you say, hey, I'm going to trade 2 players away for 1. Always look and see if you can replace him on the waiver wire with something. Or maybe you have a deal with somebody else where you're receiving those 2 players. You have to balance out because you're not going to be able to carry a team with 1 player over the limit, and you don't want to be short 1 player at any given time. Right? Don't leave your bench spot open with no player when you have an entire waiver wire, unless you have like a first priority pick in a league where you cannot add a player daily. You can only add them weekly, but most leagues will let you add a player, the next day or the day of as well. A lot of times that happens. So, again, let's recap where we are. You have found the owner, okay, who you're going to do business with. You've contacted him or have reached out to him or he's reached out to you. And now you're in the process of trying to, not send him a garbage offer because this is a relationship-based trade. That's what you're looking for. You're going to trade a lot of times with the same people over and over again. You're going to see the type of style that they have. Don't overshoot it, man. Don't be the guy as well, or girl, who sends a trade, explains it to the other owner, why it's a good deal. This is what you're getting. No, I know what I'm getting. Don't worry, bud. Don't worry. I know what I'm getting when you send me a deal. If you have to explain to me why that trade you're making is good for me, you've lost me already. Because even a murderer believes that he's innocent for some reason. And we all know that most of the time he's guilty. So if you're trying to explain the trade to me, you should probably A, not do that. And B, don't. Just literally don't do that. There's no reason to do it. Do not, and this one too, I can't repeat this enough. Do not tell me I can't trade this player away because I drafted him in the 4th round and your player you drafted in the 8th round. Guess what? As of opening night, where you drafted that player is not my problem. It's not. It's not my problem where you reached on another player or not getting value back that you seem fit, that you think is a good idea, or at least justifies where you picked him, and now you're trying to take that out on me. Doesn't matter. As of opening night, where you drafted that player makes zero impact in my decisions. You drafted him too early, not my problem. Like, follow the theory as well, okay? If you drafted James Neal, you drafted him late. Should I be giving you garbage? Because but you drafted him in the, 14th round. I can't give you my 8th rounder for him. No, of course not. He's a sell high candidate. You would be like, well, he's performing. So why would you do it the opposite way? If I'm offering you James Neal for a player that you drafted in the 8th round and you turn up and you look at me and say, yeah, but no, you drafted James Neal far away. Or sometimes, yeah, but you added him off the waiver wire. Yeah, I did. I'm active, man. That's the goal. That is the goal, to be active, to find players with value. I love doing that. I love picking up a player off the waiver wire. Starts to get hot, he starts to contribute, and then I trade him for something. Or I include him in a package that allows me to get the player that I want. I love that. Every owner loves doing it. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with selling low on a player that you say, hey, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to turn around. Maybe you are one of those people right now that says, hey, Martin Jones is not going to lose his starting job. Maybe you truly believe that. And you say, I'm going to go out and acquire him. Maybe you find the owner who's going to be a little bit desperate, who says, hey, I don't want my hands on this problem anymore. I'm just going to get rid of him. I'm going to get something for him. And if you're an Aaron Dell owner, maybe you trade him and you say, hey, he's going to be the starter. Somebody can't look and you say, yeah, but you picked him off the waiver wire. Or you got him late in a draft. Doesn't matter. This is what he's doing now. Are you interested in him? Yes or no? If you are, trade for him. Doesn't matter where you drafted him. It's not important. And always, always, always go back and forth. It's rare that I'm the owner who sends a trade and the other person accepts it. It's so rare. I'm usually the person who accepts it. I'll always try to have the last word, even if I think the deal on paper is fair. Sometimes, and I'm a victim of this, it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll always try to go get a little bit more, just a little bit more. Even if I think it's fair. Usually with draft picks, I'll do this. Somebody will just send me a pick, say, hey, I'll send you, package this player for this pick. I'll always try to go up one pick. Say, hey, you know what? If you give me, let's say he says, I'll give you a 5th round pick. And you know what? We have a deal if you give it to me at 4. And that's just good negotiating at that point. You've committed to the trade by saying, hey, I would make this deal. I would say yes if you give me a 4th. Know exactly what you want to make a deal. I'm happy with the 5th most of the times, but I'll always try to go get a little more. And I have some owners who will send me and say, hey, look, man, I got this player I'm willing to give you for this, and I'll give you a pick. All right. What's the pick? Tell me what you're going to give me so I can go get one more. Even if it's fair. Maybe he says no. And then you exchange a little bit. You say, look, man, I really got to invent some sauce, man. Put some, go out there, go get a little bit. Just a little bit. Try. You're not winning if you're not trying. Even if he says, look, man, the best I can do is a fifth. All right. You have the choice at that point. You can take it. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I say, all right, man, the fifth's the best you can do, really? All right, send the trade over. That's it. Sometimes I know that he can do better. Depending on the person on the other side of the trade, sometimes you know them. You say, no, I know he's going to give in. Sometimes you have to stretch it out a little bit, stretch it out the time a little bit. All right, man, I'll think about it. And then maybe he messages you back and he says, hey, I'll do it for the fourth. All right, send the trade over. Maybe you get back to him and he says, no, man, I can't. I'll stick this. Maybe you lose out on the deal as well. Maybe he does a deal with somebody else for a fifth. You kick yourself in the butt. That's a double-edged sword, man. It's the risk that you take. But in my mind, in my head, if I'm not trying, then I'm not getting the maximum amount of value back. Because you can go get a little bit more. Even let's say you forget the draft picks. It's two fair deals. You look at it and you say, maybe I can stretch this out a little more. Maybe I can go get this player. Maybe he says no. Sometimes I send a super fair trade and I'm willing to include player A or player B. To me, sometimes it doesn't change which one you take. They're about equal in the books. But I'll put the player that I'm okay with letting go the most. So if I have two players on my team and I say, hey, I could add this player in the deal to get it done, but if I could add him instead, that'd be good. The two players are maybe similar, but maybe you have a preference for one or the other. Maybe he's got 4 games this week. The other one only has 3. Stuff like that. So I'll include another player. And then maybe he sends you a trade offer back and says, hey, I'd make the deal if you included this player instead. And that's the player you wanted to give originally. So you say, okay, fine. Because maybe he's like you. Maybe if you would have offered that player first, he would have tried to stretch it out a little more. And it's fine. Guess what? Look, it's fine for the other owner to ask for things as well. He's going to do it. Assume he's doing it anyways. Even if he's not, assume he is. It's his right to do it. Don't get mad at him for trying. Be mad at yourself if you're not. In my mind, if you're trying to acquire my best player, I have no problem with trading them. In my fantasy football league, I've traded a whole bunch of players. I've traded Dalvin Cook. I've traded Russell Wilson. I've traded all these great players. Doesn't matter. I'll trade them. But what am I getting in return? And if I'm asking you for the moon, it's fine. You're asking me what I want. I'm going to tell you it's outrageous. Maybe it's not too outrageous, but maybe we get real close. Or maybe you start adding stuff to the deal to get it done. And maybe I'm going to make my team a lot better because you absolutely need this player. You want Connor McDavid? Fine. But you may have to give up 2 really good players to get him. And a draft pick. If you're in a keeper league, always ask for a draft pick. Doesn't matter what it is. Ask for a pick. Always try to get one more. Always. I always ask for a pick in a keeper league. Why not? If I can get a better pick, if I assume that you're going to get, that I can get a pick in return, I'm going to do it. I'll send you, even if I'll flop around. Let's say I ask him for an 8th round pick. I'll give you the last one in the draft. He says, no, I can't do that. All right. I'll take your 8th round pick, but I'll only give you my 10th. I've moved up 2 rounds in a draft, man. It's the minor part because now psychologically you've basically agreed that the players that we're talking about are okay. Psychologically, now we're talking about the small stuff at the end, the draft picks, the little things, just trying to get a little more. Don't lose a trade over it. But see if you can get a little more. Man, I would make the deal assuming that the player's all this, but I need this as well. All right. Maybe he just doesn't want to hear about it. He says, okay, fine, do it. Perfect. Send the trade over. I always tell them, send the trade over. And always, ladies and gentlemen, always, when you send a trade offer or you speak of something, speak with conviction that you're going to do it. Don't be the people who you agree to the trade or you say, yeah, I'll trade you this player and I'll get and for this player and this player. And then the other guy says, okay, I could do that. And then you say, all right, we'll send it over and I'll think about it. What do you mean you'll think about it? Think about what? You offered it to me. Don't shoot shit for shooting shit. Like, if you're saying something, you have an idea. Don't say, send me this player, and I'll send you this player and this player. And then say, well, I'll think about it. No. Throw out ideas and use different words. Like, well, what do you think if I offered you this and you gave me this in return? That's fine. That's not committing to everything. Maybe he says, yeah, I'd make that trade. Well, now you have to be, pretty damn committed to it. You can't be like, well, I wouldn't. Well, no, you just offered it, man. That's what I mean by speak with conviction. When you're offering something, every offer you make, you are willing to make that deal, is what you're saying. Every single one. You're not thinking about it. You're not talking to anybody else. You're making the deal. Every single time you make an offer, you're willing to make the deal. If not, don't offer it. Because you don't want to be the guy who pulls out at the end. Sorry. You do not want to be that person. When you make the deal or when you offer something, you're taking it. Those are just general things that'll irritate other owners when you're unsure. Be sure of your trade. You're making it. Don't be afraid. You're not going to win every trade, and that's okay. You can go back at the end of the year, look at the trades, and be like, yeah, that was not a great one. That's fine. You're going to make some deals that are not good. Maybe it does set you back a little bit. You're going to make good deals as well. You're going to make a good deal at some point that gets you exactly what you need. Don't be trigger scared. Pull it. There are people, I'm in leagues with people who are real trigger happy. They make trades because they get they're addicted to it, like drugs. That's fine. They don't win all of them. You win 7 out of 10 trades. I mean, you want 7 out of 10. There's a good chance you're making it to the finals of your league, or at least you're making it to the playoffs. Don't be afraid. Pull the trigger. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Pull the trigger sometimes. Make a deal. Be a good fantasy owner. Like I said, man, sometimes people send me trade offers. I was like, did you even look at my team? Did you even assume that I can even make this deal? Like, always do a little bit of research before. Make it interesting for the other owner. Pretend it's a date. When you go on a date with a girl or a guy, if you're a dude, maybe you take a shower before, you shave, nice haircut, you wear nice clothes. You give yourself all the odds possible that she will at least like you. Maybe your goal is to, get a second date. Maybe your goal is to sleep with her. It doesn't matter what your goal is, but you kind of want her to say yes to whatever you're thinking. Now, same thing with, if you're a girl. You look good. You put on some makeup. You wear heels, or it's, you do things so that the other person will like it or say yes. That's what it is. It's the same thing as fantasy sports. That may explain why we're not good at it. Some of us have no skill with chicks. So we have no skill in fantasy sports either. Those two go simultaneous together sometimes. But always try to make it interesting for the other owner. Captivate their attention. He says, hey, I'd like to trade for David Pastrnak. Perfect. What are you thinking? I'll send you player X. Man, we're a long ways away. I wouldn't trade him for that player. I would trade him, though, for... Then you go on. Now you've started a discussion. That's all you're doing. You're discussing. And guess what? Maybe he says no at the beginning. 2 weeks later, he comes around. He says, okay, look, I'm ready to make that deal. Oh, I can't do that now. Or you say, okay, fine. Or maybe the situation on his team has changed. Maybe he's made a trade with somebody else. And you say, okay, now I'll go back to him. See if he's more flexible now on something. Maybe he's acquired different pieces. His roster has changed. Does he still need that original offer that I offered him? Follow up. I always follow up with some owners. Hey, this trade that we talked about last time, you think maybe, something changed on your side? Can we revisit it? Maybe he says no. All right. You're not going to make every trade. You're not. Some of them die. Nothing good happens from it. It's okay. Let them know that you're open to making a deal. Hey, man, if we can make a deal that works for both of us, I'm all ears. Always. Never say, here's a couple of things. Never say he's untradeable, or never say, I won't do that. Always listen. Listen. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as hard as you talk. If you're the guy in the trade talking a lot, you're losing the trade. You're losing. You try to convince them. If you go on a date with a girl and you spend all your time talking, it's not going well. Don't talk too little, but make sure that you understand what you need from the other owner. You say, hey, I'm trying to get better here. Okay. Maybe he's not going to want to pay the price. Maybe he will. Or maybe he'll try to find a way to say, I want that player and I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to give you this piece and that piece. He might. You don't know. Give him the chance to sell himself out or herself out. Give the other owner the opportunity. I do lots of trades like that. You want my best player? Perfect. Send me 2 of your best. No? What do you mean no? You're sending me garbage and you're wondering why I said no? I always like to send a counter offer. If I get a garbage offer, I'm going to send you a garbage counter one back. And then they get offended. I like those owners who get offended. Well, what do you mean? You sent me trash, man. I sent it back. What do you mean? You instantly press the reject button on the trade that I sent you? I'm shocked. Oh, it was that bad. Okay. Don't be that owner, man. Just in trading, it's important to have a dialogue before. Send a first offer. You could send, let's say you're in a league where you're not close with the people. It's people you met on Twitter or you don't know the rest of them. Send the first offer. Say, hey, if this doesn't work, let me know what does. Or send me something back and we can take a look and see what helps us. Or maybe you shoot a couple of emails or something. I don't know. Most people in leagues, they know the other owners. Try to open the dialogue. Be like, hey, what can I do so we can make a deal? Be adamant that you want to do something. You want to make your team better. You want to help their team get better. You want something that's fair for both parties. You're not going to rip them off, okay? You're not. Because if they have a pulse and they're playing fantasy sports, at least they know what's going on. Always. So you're not going to rip them off. You're not going to send them trash and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, okay. No, it's not going to happen. So send them a fair offer straight off the bat. Something that at least meets their needs. Maybe they're going to look at you and say, dude, no. Or dudette, no. This doesn't work. Okay, what does? Maybe they say, well, I need this, this, and this. Maybe that's a little too high that you're willing to pay. Okay. Or maybe you say, okay, well, I can't do this, but what if? And then again, you get a conversation going. Converse, people. I know the human race is doing less of it now. We are conversing less and less and less. We don't know how to converse. But do the most you can. Do the most you can. So let's just, again, recap here. All the players on your fantasy team are tradable. They are. Don't ever say they're not. Don't ever say, no, I don't want to trade. I'm not making a trade because I like this player. I like this player too much. He's my favorite player. My team name is associated to this player. I've gotten that one before. Guess what? Your fantasy hockey or your fantasy sports team name, it can be changed. Find a new one. Doesn't matter. Just never ever be like a player is untradeable. Never explain your trade. Don't do that. If you have to explain it, it's not good. It's not working. Start again. Converse, man. Make it easy. Take a look at your league rankings, your league settings, your overall, and target. Don't say, well, this player has done this. Doesn't matter. I'm paying for future value. It's like NHL contracts, right? Good GMs are the ones that give out money based on what they expect the player to do in the future, not what they've done in the past. That's the difference between having a really good contract for Brendan Gallagher instead of having a garbage contract like Zach Parise. That's the difference. Remember Nikita Kucherov's contract before he signed the big one? He was making like 6 something. Or best example, David Pasternak's contract. I know he's not making a boatload of money, but he's got a real nice contract right now. He's getting paid money. Not enough of it, but in his next contract, for sure he's going to get more money. And that's fine. He's earned it. But maybe he does even more in the future. You pay for future talent. You pay for what the player is going to do in the future, not for what he's done. You're selling him on what he's already done. But if you're buying a player, you're paying for what is coming. That's what you're paying for. Your players are always available. You're always willing to talk. Be active on the waiver wire to see if you can replace a player that you're trading via a player on the waiver wire. Don't be afraid to ask for a little bit more. Always go get a draft pick. 5 things, roughly, that I look for. And that, ladies and gentlemen, puts an end to our podcast tonight. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I know these, some people don't care about sports. They just like to, they support the podcast and stuff. That means the world to me. I hope these podcasts do help you in any way that they can. I hope this one, specifically the trade one, helps you make a whole bunch of really great trades because you deserve it. As always, you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Slapshot Podcast, right? You can follow me on Twitter at FuzzyChris91. Don't forget you to subscribe and rate the podcast. You can rate it on Spotify. You can rate it on iTunes. You can subscribe to it on Stitcher. And you can find it over at the Fantasy Fix. You can also, listen to this one. Maybe you're a fan of YouTube. Well, you can listen to the podcast on YouTube. Exactly. It will be up on YouTube. So there's one more platform for you to enjoy it on. Subscribe, rate it on your favorite platform. As always, like I said, thank you to everybody who listens to this. It warms my heart, gives me the tingling feeling. I love doing these. I hope that they bring you something positive, makes you a better fantasy hockey player. And if there's something that you want me to cover or talk about, let me know. Slide into the DMs. Be like, hey, maybe you got a trade offer and you're not sure if you should make the deal. Send me a DM. I'll answer your question. Tweet me. I'll answer your question if you're okay doing it publicly. Maybe you want me to cover something in specific on a future podcast. Do that. Send me or the podcast a message. We'll take a look at it. But yeah, don't be afraid. Send it. Continue to send me your love and your hate. It's fine. Some people don't like certain things. That's all right. But I appreciate it nonetheless. I really enjoy doing this. And we will talk to each other again soon. Bye-bye.